Hey, I'm Scott Wolf, and TV Insider and I are about to do a career rewind. Yeah, Kids Incorporated, I played twins right out of the gates, complicated stuff. Billy and Bobby, nice guy, quiet guy. And Jennifer Love Hewitt was on that show. So met Jennifer Love on that, and then years later, she played my girlfriend on Party of Five. So really fun, a little stressful because it was my first time with a big speaking role, but yeah, played twins. Haven't played twins since. But in Doc, I played Dr. Richard Miller, who's kind of like two characters, like a private one and a public one. So I'm sort of playing twins again. So Saved by the Bell I was only ever an extra, technically, on Saved by the Bell. I wasn't like a cast member. I had just gotten to Los Angeles. I had never really spent time on film sets, so I wanted to do some background work because I knew it was a good way to just be in the environment. And everybody else was like looking at Teen Beat and their Sony Walkman, and I was that ages me a lot, by the way. And I was just kind of studying, watching what everybody was doing, and learned a lot. And so they would hire background artists to be sort of regular background people on Saved by the Bell, so that familiar faces would be wandering the high school hallways. And then over time, they would give certain people a little bit of a bit part. And I never spoke, but I was in the Glee Club and I was a waiter at the Max. I met Mark Paul Gosselaar and Mario Lopez and Elizabeth Berkley and Tiffany Amber Thiessen. And those are all people that remained in my life in some way or another until now, which is pretty incredible. They're all really great people and were really generous to a kid who just fell off the bus from New Jersey. Party of Five. I mean, that was sort of changed everything for me. I'm still incredibly proud of being part of that show. Began my career really in earnest. Was such a beautiful experience on and off camera. Second family with that whole cast, still in touch with all of them. Yeah, some of the best times in my life. Really kind of learned in many ways how to be an actor and how to be a person in public life who people knew, and reshaped every part of my life in really, really great ways. So Spin City was a really awesome experience. So Charlie Sheen was the star of the show at the time. Michael J. Fox wasn't doing the show anymore. Charlie was like one of the most generous, awesome people that I've ever met. I was about to go do this little movie where I was playing a forensic detective, and I told him about it. And the next day he came and he had gone and bought these 2 books for me to do research with. And he was just like that kind of incredible, generous person. My dad came to see the first live taping. I played Heather Locklear's boyfriend, and Heather and I had like a little kiss on the show, a TV sitcom kiss. And my dad was like, "I've never been prouder of you in my life." Everwood, a really wonderful experience. Moved my wife and I to Utah, where we still live. Was my first doctor role. I've now played 4. Some amazing people on that show. Treat Williams, rest his soul. Chris Pratt, Greg Smith, Emily Van Camp. Just like a beautiful cast of actors. It was the first show I did after Party of Five, and that kind of family drama, that kind of character-based show was what I had obviously cut my teeth on and loved more than anything. Loved Treat and his wife Pam and their kids. And we became really good friends over the years, and tragic, awful that he passed. He was a beautiful actor, and he and I were antagonistic with each other on the show, which was, it was fun. If I could go back, it would be fun to play a role that was much more sort of joined with him, because most of our on-camera stuff was contentious, but he was a wonderful human being, and I had been a fan of his work for years and years and years, and it was a gift to get a chance to work with him and get to know his family. So The Nine was short-lived, and that was painful at the time. Interestingly, Hank Steinberg, who executive produces Doc, was executive producer on The Nine. So Hank and I go back to 2006. It was a really cool show. The whole thing was based around this group of people that get caught in a hostage crisis inside a bank. And really loved it, really intense. Didn't didn't make it past its first season at the time, and both Hank and I think it's kind of the ones that get away from you that you feel like really deserved a chance but didn't get it. The 9 definitely sits there for us. V, similar to the 9 in that it wasn't as long-lived as it could have been. When we made the pilot for that show, it was had incredible potential. Again, great cast, really cool story, a reboot kind of from the 80s version of V that I grew up watching. Played my first sort of super sinister kind of guy, this Chad Decker, the news guy, who was trying to leverage the aliens to boost his own career. It was our first time living in Vancouver. We've gone back there several times and loved that, so that was a good part of that experience. And the show ultimately it didn't find its way creatively and ended after 2 seasons, but a really cool experience. NCIS, I've done some cool stuff. NCIS was great. Mark Harmon, salt of the earth, generous, really made me feel welcome there. They told a very cool story with my character. Oftentimes when you come in and play a character like I did, he was a villain. He was like this rogue ex-Navy SEAL who wanted to shoot people and harm people. It was like a 3-episode, I think, arc that I wound up doing, but they wound up sort of redeeming him in the end. The 3rd episode, he was in his time as a Navy SEAL. He had some experience with bombs and defusing things, and there was this bomb outside. It was going to explode. It was going to hurt a lot of people, and he basically was like, "Let me go defuse it." And Mark Harmon's character was like, "No," and he's like, "Let me do it. I can do it." And so they go into this truck, and he winds up defusing this bomb. And in the end, time's running out, and he has this moment with Mark Harmon where, he's like, "You gotta get out, gotta get out." And he's like, "No, I'm staying." And he even smiles, and he's literally, martyring himself. He's going to die to save people. And for a show like that doesn't do that with characters very often, it's kind of incredible. I did 3 episodes, I don't even know how long ago, and I might get stopped for that in airports as much as anything else. It's a very popular show, obviously, but there was something about the fact that they made a little arc out of that character. He wasn't a one-off, shoot people and go away. The only other thing I would say about it was, I think I've told this story before, but the very first scene, I had to fire a gun. And they put this gun in my hand, and I'd been around all day. I hadn't fired the gun yet, but I knew they showed me there were blanks in it, there was safety, whatever. But I have to hold the gun like this, and I come out from behind this wall. And I'm an ex-Navy SEAL. I've shot thousands and thousands of rounds, and so I need to shoot 2 people. And they shot it in super slow motion. And as I was coming out from behind the wall, they shot it, and the gun went off, and it was a lot. And so I go over to the monitor, and it was late on a Friday night. They were sending everybody home. They're like, "Okay, if we got this shot, if it's good, if it's in focus, that's a great week, everybody." So everyone's just waiting, everyone's going to run to their cars and leave for the week. And we're at the monitors, and they show the super slow motion. And I'm going. And I was like, "Oh, this actually looks really cool." And I look like sort of Navy SEAL-ish. I might have been voted least likely to be a Navy SEAL in high school. And then I fire this gun in super slow motion, and it's like, and I was like this, because it was extremely loud, and I hadn't fired the gun before. And he's like, "We got it. Have a great weekend." And I was like, we very don't have it. I look like I've never fired a gun before. And we came back after the weekend, and he knocked on my door, and the director, and he was like, "Scott, how was your weekend?" I was like, "Great." He was like, "Okay, good. So not for performance. We're going to reshoot the gunshot." I was like, "Yeah, I figured that we might be having this conversation." So the shot that's in the show, I had a chance to kind of compose myself, know that this thing was going to explode next to my face and not look like someone who had never fired a gun before. Yeah, so Perception was awesome. I did 2 seasons of the show. So earlier, I was talking to somebody, and they were talking about Bailey Salinger being kind of like a douchey guy sometimes. I was like, I never thought of Bailey that way. I thought I had to outrun the sort of earnest, kind of sort of choir boy thing, but he was complicated in his own way. But I've played a lot of kind of characters who are sort of ethically, morally compromised or questionable, I guess. And so Donnie on Perception wasn't necessarily that, but he definitely liked being a thorn in the side of Eric McCormack's character. And Rachel Lee Cook was awesome. So that became very much like a three-hander between the three of us. And they're so good and so warm and great as people. So that was a super fun show to do. And again, they let that character really have a wonderful depth. And yeah, nothing but great memories. We got to shoot an episode. I think the producers just wanted to go to Paris one year. So like they flew us all to Paris and they wrote like a We Have to Be in Paris episode. But we got to shoot in Paris together, which was really awesome. You know, wine at lunch and getting to shoot in this like magic city was really cool. Yeah, so Night Shift was my third Doctor. So I guess I can sort of say the 9 was the second Doctor. Interestingly, the medicine was very much not front and center on that show. So I played a Doctor on the 9, but it was much more about who he was in this bank hostage crisis. But and Dr. Jake Hartman was the first one on Everwood. So the third one was the Night Shift. And interestingly, that was the only time this ever happened where I was still on Perception, and the Night Shift happened at the same time. So I was able to do both at the same time. They didn't overlap shooting, which was pretty cool. And very different characters, very different worlds. But yeah, the Night Shift was awesome. We shot in New Mexico, and a great tight-knit cast. I joined the show. They'd already made, I want to say they had done a season, if not 2, and I came in and did season 3 and 4. And they were awesome, you know, when you show up at a show that's already running like that, you're very much a guest at somebody else's holiday dinner is how it always feels to me. And so you want to sing along with the song they're already singing and fit in, but at the same time, do your own thing and add to what's happening. But yeah, really cool world. Obviously, like incredible emergency medicine, just blood on hands and gowns and saving lives, you know, 24/7 at 100 miles an hour. So it was a very cool show to be a part of. Loved that cast. And yeah, really cool experience. Yeah, Nancy Drew was the last 4 years before I started on Doc. And another wonderful experience. You know, my family and I wound up living in Vancouver, where we shot that show for a little while. Kennedy McMahon, so the whole cast was wonderful. Love all of them. Producers, writers, everybody great. Kennedy, I kind of sort of felt like she has a wonderful real father. But I sort of took on a bit of a mentor, sort of surrogate dad role while we were up in Vancouver, especially during pandemic time. And she leaned into me that way, which I loved. You know, I got told when I started on the show, we got a very young cast. We love the idea of having someone that's not, we know what they're going to do as an actor, but and this was something I was really proud of. You know, they just heard how I show up on set, and they thought that mattered for this younger cast to have somebody showing up that way and being a mentor if anyone needed anything. And I wasn't running around trying to sort of impose myself, but everyone knew that I had been around a few blocks and that I was available and loved being part of helping guide somebody through something, give advice, whatever it was. They were incredibly capable, and Kennedy is prodigious and a beautiful talent and a remarkable human being that comes from a great family. So it's not that she needed it, but she wanted it. You know, she also was stepping into something that I stepped into with Party 5, which was, you know, you're about to go from complete anonymity to very much not that. And it'll all be rooted in this work that you love, but it's a lot. And so that never went away. You know, for 4 years, it was a constant process, especially in the first year though. You know, I had this opportunity to be part of her life and her experience. And so that relationship meant a ton to me, still does. And yeah, you know, they don't give away 4 seasons easily anymore. So to get a chance to do that show that I loved, and also to play kind of iconic-ish, you know, those books are, you know, more than 100 years old, and, you know, they're so well known. My kids have read them, and So yeah, to play Carson Drew from that world was a real honor, and I loved it. Merry Scottish Christmas was, 100% about working with Lacey again. We also created, I really think, a beautiful little holiday story. And we knew we wanted to play siblings. We knew we wanted to work together again. And so it was a joy. It was a joy to be part of building that thing with Lacey and some really talented people. And shooting it was awesome. We got to go to Ireland and Scotland. My family was able to come be with us for a while. Her family came, and so it really felt full circle in the most incredible way. And that was the whole kind of point of it in the beginning. Obviously, once we got there, the point was to make a great film that people would love, and I really think we did that too. So, but yeah, the chance to circle back with her and spend time with her and be brother and sister again, after what we experienced together on Party of Five was really special. I mean, Doc is, it is the gift that is currently giving. It is, it's an incredible show. I mean, I've been very lucky to be part of a lot of things that I'm proud of. I've never been more proud to be part of a show, to be amongst a company of actors, this cast. I've always loved hospital shows. I think there's a reason why hospital shows have been on television since television has existed. It's a world where it impacts all of our lives, for better or for worse. At some point, we're all going to be in situations where we're exposed to these kinds of things. If it's us, if it's someone we love. So there's something compelling about exploring these things. It's life and death. People's lives are on the line all the time. And so I think, this show holds all of that as powerfully as any hospital show I've ever seen. And it has this sort of new storytelling spin on it, which is, it's not even a spin, it's just this sort of beautiful, complex character and set of characters and circumstances at the middle of this medical world. The lead doctor has been, in this terrible accident, has lost this portion of her life. And to watch an incredibly capable group of professionals have to almost restart in a way, to hold on to the things they need, the things that matter, but in many ways begin again is fascinating. And at the same time, they're still standing in rooms assessing patients and diagnosing people and saving lives. And all of this intricate interpersonal relationship stuff is happening at the same time. And so it was an incredible experience creatively. This is one of the, I always feel like my best work is out in front of me, and I believe most artists feel that way. And, I think I've been given a chance to do work in this show that feels beyond anything I've ever done before. And that's a gift, a huge gift. So I love talking about the work that I've done. Doing these kinds of things for any project is something that I feel like is valuable and is part of the job. I've been very lucky over the years to be talking about things I'm proud of, and yeah, I've never been more proud of anything than Doc, and so it's a real pleasure to be able to be telling the world about it.